Welcome to Backbreaking News, episode 45. Today we're doing a debate, AEW versus WWE. We're going to go with the WWE side of why it's better. To be honest, if you're a WWE fan, you notice that AEW is like a TNA or WCW, just trying to sign all the top tier talent they can. Instead of using them wisely, they're using them to put over the younger talent, which is more or less what WWE does. They have people like Daniel Bryan, now known as Bryan Danielson, who has been used badly, in my opinion, and people like Adam Cole, who are in their 30s, who are past their prime but can still wrestle, and not been using them before. But they used, and then they're, it's just over exaggerated. With WWE, you don't have to. They use the old talent for stuff. They use the young talent for their own things, and the older stars get the win sometime for a storyline purpose, not just because they need a few wins to get up in the rankings. That's the second thing wrong with AEW. The ranking system. It's letting the talent, the ranking, in my opinion, should not happen, because what makes someone not main event worthy? It shouldn't be depending on wins if you're main event worthy. It should just be the company's decision. Because this is a scripted sport. This ain't boxing. No one cares if you won 100 matches and you lost one. No one really cares. WWE might keep a track if they're undefeated for a year, but it's not like a ranking system, because anyone could get a world title shot or an intercontinental title shot. In AEW, the ranking system determines all that. It's ultimately WWE also has a few other good points of defending it. See, they don't lose their sponsorships most of the time, because they don't use blood almost every match. Now, blood is good sometimes. Now, this might make me sound crazy, but having blood almost every match you can is not gonna make Disney World gonna sponsor you. I'm not saying that, or Coca-Cola, they need a kid-friendly thing that they want to sponsor. But with TV14, there's a lot more they could do. Also, WWE's image is... People say WWE wrestling is bad, but to be honest, it's decent. For people who hate, they're just looking at AEW because they think it's better, and determining it based on that instead of it's its own thing and it's decent. You know, people look at what WWE should be in the 90s, not what there are now, which is a mega company which for kids, and you have to tone down some of the stuff, so you really can't be upset at them for that. It's just a business decision that's been working. Also, the fact that people judge WWE for what AEW is. AEW, in my opinion, is just people who weren't going to get far, all signed in places, and just have like 50-year-olds just to put them over. That's really what it is. It's just like, you're hired. I don't know what you did. You might have just debuted, but hey, you're hired. And you thought WWE was bad with hiring, hiring and not using anyone. AEW was worse. I haven't seen Ryan Nemeth, people haven't seen Ryan Nemeth in a few months on actual AEW television. And where's Brock Anderson? They're pretty bad. Brian Cage hasn't been seen in weeks, months, years. We don't know where he's currently located at this current time. See, why would you sign somebody? Why would you not use these talented people and instead push on? And another thing is, WWE doesn't live. They try to use everyone they can. AEW's like, you're not elite. You're not a part of the elite, so you're not gonna get pushed or are friends with the elite. Whoever, that's what they do. They push the top talents based on who I was friends with. Kenny Omega. In most cases, those people get the longer title shots, or they get 4 or 5 title reigns. When really there's more talented people than just them. And then if WWE does the same thing, oh boy, it's terrible. But in reality, AEW is trying to copy WWE in a way as trying to get an older audience, which is ultimately why they're probably failing in the market, because see, kids like wrestling, but when they grow up, they're gonna want to watch something edgier or bloodier. But certain times, it's just that I feel like AEW gets all the credit when WWE is looked down upon. People say this match is terrible, and when in reality it was okay. But people are always. You don't have to be on one side, but just saying this is terrible because you watch AEW, and of course the matches are a bit better, but they're about the same quality of WWE's matches. You can't lie about that. You can't really lie about that. And they do long-term storytelling. Mr. Pay-per-views are too far from each other, and it's boring to see feuds go on for like 100 months. WWE doesn't do that as much as they used to, but they might feud for 3 pay-per-views, end it, go back to it a few years later. It's more interesting than to watch months and months and months of it, and then a pay-per-view end off. There should always be 2 pay-per-views, and then if they're not done, and then another month, and another month, and then another month, and another month, and then the pay-per-view. But ultimately, also, the long championship runs also bother me. No one needs to hold the title for like 370 days just because. You could have short title reigns and make it interesting. Look at the Attitude Era. There wasn't, no one holded it barely 100 days, and they still made those runs interesting. You just have to find a way to make it interesting without having title reigns last like 1,000 and something days. And I personally don't think pushing someone who not having the Eternum Championship too. It's stupid. Just let them relinquish the title if they can't defend it. If they can't defend it, why are they still considered champion? Just give Jon Moxley the title. CM Punk is old. Everyone would understand. He's injured. Just have Jon Moxley win it, and then a few months later, When CM Punk gets back, he can win it back. That's how simple it is. It's called good booking. The Eternum Championship things shouldn't be a thing. Because it's just bothering me. If WWE did that, oh boy, it would be so predictable who's gonna win. But at least they don't have these title matches that have no meaning to them, because each title match feels important, and AEW is just like, you have a briefcase, you have the title, good for you. You probably won't defend it most of the weeks, and they'll still be champion, injured, and it counts as days. I personally don't think if they're injured they should be keeping the title, because it's not fair to people who are working 10 times hard to become a champion. And that's the reason why I like WWE. They give people you might not think shots, but it's not necessarily all that bad. And people who think that AEW is better really are. I mean, they have a lot of interesting talent, but when it comes to it, WWE is a bit better because they have the talent. They have big names. They have Roman Reigns. And they have talent who are young enough to still wrestle 20 years from now. And they ultimately don't have a ranking system, and they don't have a tournament championship matches, which is just a dumb decision in any other way. So personally, if you told me that the good things about WWE, as you might notice, are that they just are a good company to watch. They have good quality matches most of the time during their pay-per-views. Not every match could be a 5-star classic. And for the matches they have, most of them are decent, or some of them are really bad, but most of them are at least watchable. And their title reigns don't have to be long, but as long as there's some meaningful matches that were defended in them, they're ultimately worth the time and place. Worth the time. And this could be up for debate, but if you like AEW, I like it a bit, but I've always been a fan of WWE, because I've been a fan for WWE a long time. And you want me to tell you, it's hard to believe that it's been going around for so long, but if you really think about it, it's one of those promotions you could watch and just remember them, and just remember almost. They're a moment-based company. There are moments, and some moments are unforgettable. You think about all the moments they gave you. I think about how AEW is more of like, you could watch it, you could be like, that was a good match, but you can't remember anything that happens. You might remember it had that match, or it had that match, but there's not enough moments to make it worthwhile. There might be a huge return by someone who's like 72 years old, and people cheer for it. Not every return is that exciting. Jeff Hardy going to AEW, in my opinion, was not exciting at all. Because people who are excited still for people returning, it's quite obvious that they're going to go there. And when someone returns to WWE who says they're not going to, like Scott Steiner, it's more exciting because they just don't be like, hey, Chris Jericho, come back. And when he returns, just honestly, special for just like a little appearance. It's because he's legendary, and it's not really forced to be there. It's like not every star AEW hires has to be a WWE star, but think of all the stars that go there. Think about it. And people like this, and they're basically WCW Junior. Sign everyone you can, hire them. Sign them. And that's what's going to be their downfall. Eventually, they're going to hire someone that makes them go bankrupt. And guess who's going to save them? WWE. In my opinion, WWE has always had moments like Kofi Kingston becoming champion, which I've talked about. And it's one of the greatest moments because it was a well worth title run. He had some good matches. Not only was it a good moment, but he had a good match to win it. It's a more memorable moment. Name one moment in AEW that's been memorable besides the blood. See? That's my point there. And anytime this has gone by the limit, goodbye. And next week we're going to do why AEW is better.